You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. We are back in real time. That took just a few seconds, but in YouTube time, now it's a new segment. So thank you for joining us and finding us on YouTube. We talk about sports on the Unhappy Hour program every Friday, usually from 3:30 to 4:30 Pacific. We had a special early show yesterday about the NBA draft with NBA scout Zach Barris talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and the entire first round of the NBA draft. But definitely click subscribe because we have our sports shows. We talk about all the major sports, baseball, football, basketball, and the college sports. And then we also have Agree to Disagree, which is the program that this is. This is a place where we're allowed to just kind of have a mostly civil conversation and get at the core of what is eroding our liberty, what's the problem, what's the solution. Because if this could end poorly or if this could end fantastic, I'm going to pick fantastic. I would prefer an ideal outcome, a nice, civil, peaceful, prosperous, fantastic outcome, as opposed to this Orwellian nightmare prison planet society that it's just, I can't believe I'm alive at this moment in time to witness it and participate in it. And the time now is to stand up. The time is to connect. We found Blake, our guest co-host for today, Blake Wally. We found him. He documented voter fraud at the Nevada caucus for the Republican when they were doing their stuff at the Republican convention, and not the convention. What do they call it, Blake? The Republican primary.
It was it was a Republican Republican state convention of Nevada.
State convention,
yes.
and he saw something. He grabbed his camera and he recorded it, and he saw people passing out incorrect Ron Paul information with someone wearing a Ron Paul T-shirt, trying to trick people into picking different delegates. Really sneaky stuff. And at that point, I mean, it was really Romney versus Ron Paul. So, you know, we're looking at Obamacare. I think we'll pick this up on Obamacare because the issue came in the Supreme Court. John Rob, you know, he came in and deemed this constitutional, shockingly enough. But now America has a choice between someone who started Romneycare and someone who passed Obamacare. Blake, is there really a choice for the American voters in a few months regarding this Obamacare?
Unless number one, I know there's a possible chance for appeal. I saw Niles Pender, or AKA Eric Cantor, was discussing that. I don't know. Do you remember the movie Mr. Destiny with James Belushi?
Oh, vaguely.
Yeah, there's the crooked boss. His name is Niles Pender in the movie. He reminds me of Eric Cantor. Not to get sidetracked, but anyway.
No, it's all right. People can pause it and take a look.
Right.
Go ahead.
Or some people are out there going, "Oh yeah, I know what he's talking about." But anywho. Where was I? I got
we're talking about what difference do we have in the election here, because we got Obamacare
yes.
versus Romneycare. There is no
right.
choice. It's almost like a global agenda to push forward a single-payer healthcare system in the United States of America was already preordained, whether we liked it or not, and what are you going to do about it? That's how a lot of Americans feel right now, especially now the Supreme Court said it's okay to force people to buy a private product from a private company. That
right.
is not allowed. I don't care what the ruling is. That's not allowed. And they're calling it a tax, but it is such a ridiculous. They had Obamacare lawyers were up there arguing that it's not a tax. This is under the Commerce Clause. And then the next day he comes back and argues this is a tax. He's playing both sides. He's saying my client is guilty, my client is innocent. And they're allowing this farce, and they say, "Well, I don't know, whichever one you'll vote for, pick that one." I mean, that's how ridiculous this whole Supreme Court decision is when you break it down. It's pretty astonishing.
No, you are correct. And I remember I was having a flashback. I watched the Daily Show. I don't know if it was yesterday or today or 2 days ago when they were discussing like what is really the difference between the the Mitt Romney plan or the Obama. They're basically saying the same things. So I mean, I think it's pretty much central. I mean, you couldn't get two candidates that are in favor of this giant bureaucracy known as like government healthcare. So you got both the architects, or actually technically it's written by the insurance companies, but 2,700 pages of like Orwellian legalese, and you've got both candidates on board for it. So I'm not holding my breath for this appeal process to take place. Mitt Romney, I guess, gets like $3.5 million of donations right after this deal goes down, and why, and what's going to be different about him? So he's saying, oh, we got to elect him because he's going to, I guess, get rid of Obamacare, but he's obviously going to replace it with something just as sinister, and maybe, I don't know, is he going to give us a little bit of a break? Is it going to be 2,500 pages of legalese? And they kind of show the hypocrisy of him kind of describing how things are going to be different, and they're really not. It's just going to be just more legalese speak. This is obviously central to a big overall plan, I guess, and that's going to be, government-run healthcare, and it's creepy, it's Orwellian, it's horrible, and it's going to be the worst, like you said, the biggest tax in American history. We're really not sure exactly how much that's going to cost, and maybe in first few years, and then we're going to have the I.R.S. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Like you say, it's like a crazy. You would never think this kind of thing would actually happen. We'd actually be discussing it. What's going on in this world? But yeah, the crazy Orwellian healthcare bill from hell, and it's not going to be good for any. I don't know. I'm sorry. My wheels are spinning here, Brian. You're going to have to jump in here.
No, I'll jump in here. The whole Obamacare thing, it just stinks. In an aspect that I haven't really taken the opportunity to, I haven't been able to consider fully yet. How is this thing repealed? Is it just a presidential repeal? Do you need the president, the Senate, the Congress? What is needed at this point? Out of all and by the way, forgive me for not knowing every single aspect to every single issue. I'm just an American citizen standing up trying to figure out what's going on. I haven't heard this yet. For all of the elites who will scoff at my ignorance, but I don't know how it's repealed. Are you aware of how this could be set back? Do you need both houses? Do you need the Senate, the Congress, and the presidency?
I don't know exactly what would happen. Like, assuming Mitt Romney did get elected, how he would repeal that. Would he do it by executive order? I don't know. But the thing is, you couldn't have a worse guy to come in there and do that, because he's clearly not against Obamacare on some level. He's just going to find a different way to sell it. So that's what people need to keep in mind. So I don't know why people are donating all this money to him. Like, he's the architect of it. Like, why would he? Sorry, I'm not. Speaking in front of the microphone. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, you're fine.
But all right. So
no, he's the architect of it, and people
was given credit for it. Yeah, but even though it's technically written by insurance companies or whatever, but he's somebody who introduced it. It's Romney Care. It's with a different name, but it's creepy bureaucratic healthcare run by the government. Yeah, you couldn't script anything any worse.
And if you can control people's health, you can control every aspect of their life. So I'll tell you what, and I'll be the first one to say, to fully delve into the Supreme Court decision, how they declared it a tax, despite the fact that they were arguing that it was not a tax. I mean, that's just astonishing to me that they basically said, we're not going to rewrite the law, and then John Roberts goes ahead and rewrites the law. It's really astonishing to me. I'm still breaking it down. I'm still digesting it. But I didn't like this 2 years ago. I don't like it now. And you know what? You want to fire people back up? I'm trying to maintain, Blake. I'm trying to walk this fine line between my my journalistic credibility, because I've said before that I don't support President Obama. That much is certain. That is not going to change. I didn't vote for him, and I will not vote for him this time. But I've said before that I'm not supporting Governor Romney either. And now we have one issue that is supposed to offer a stark contrast between Mitt Romney, day one. I will work to repeal Obamacare. Okay. Except you also support the National Defense Authorization Act, which can kidnap American citizens without trial, on an accusation, no due process, for an indefinite amount of time during a conflict on American soil. That is also unconstitutional, and you don't seem to care about that. So you're not really an alternative I'm looking for. Yet I do despise Obamacare. What say you, Blake?
And yes, and I don't want people to think I'm some kind of a monster, or I'm like some person that just, oh, I hate taxes and I don't want to do this and screw everybody. I mean, I'm in favor of, I think everybody, I don't think that we should put a price on people's health in any regard. I like the idea of healthcare. I don't think that there should be any questions asked. I don't think people should be, not get treatment just because they don't have enough money or what have you. I mean, the problem is, going back to that crony capitalism thing, the medical industry is all about money, and the Obamacare or Romney Care is going to be all about pharmaceuticals. It's about how much money they can make off of you, and then putting sicking the I.R.S. after people if they're not paying. And the I.R.S. is going to have access to all your medical records. I don't like that either. I'd rather just see the I.R.S. done away with. I want to see all the money, this corrupt money taken out of the medical industry. That would lower the cost dramatically for everybody. If you get rid of the middlemen, we go back to nutrition and minerals and trying to cheap cures and not expensive treatments. But that's the major problem. We haven't fixed the crony problem in the medical industry, and now we're going to just force everybody to go on the system. It's disgusting.
Well, and there's you mentioned about the cronyism involved with this. A great point that I've been hearing tossed about is, have you heard a peep from the insurance industry opposing this?
Yeah, no, of course not, because they wrote it, they want it. It gets everybody into the system. It forces everybody into the system. So,
and now, if insurance abuse, if insurance company abuses were part of the reason why they were driving up cost, and this seems to be a policy that the insurance companies would support, isn't that a red flag to everybody out there that you might want to be wary of what this is? If part of the problem was the collusion and confusion and all of the bureaucracy and the deceptive tactics of some insurance companies, the fact that none of them are complaining about this and that they're salivating and quietly licking their chops to dig into this, shouldn't we all be on high alert? Danger, danger, red flag, the spinning siren, the rattlesnake, every single warning sign you could imagine. Shouldn't we all go, whoa, whoa, hang on, what was in those 2,700 pages again that nobody read? Can we take a look at this before we become the guinea pigs? I'm all for reforming things. I think there's plenty we can do to lower some costs and offer a little bit more basic care to people that, maybe may have some mental issues or may be physically disabled. Certainly the only people, in my opinion, that have the right to free health care are the returning veterans who have given the paid the ultimate cost and said, I will lay down my life to protect this country. I haven't done that. I will throw down a little bit in taxes to pay for every returning veteran so they can get proper mental health screening so that the rate of suicides can go down a little bit. I will gladly support them. And even some of the mentally I don't know how you would say it, people with mental issues.
Maybe the homeless people.
Some psychological issues, and those that are totally disabled. That okay, maybe for that tiny portion. But what about that portion living above that who are making poor decisions or consciously deceptive and theftful decisions, trying to raid all of the middle class and those evil rich people, trying to get away with as much as they can without contributing anything to the system? They're sitting inside of the cart, not pulling the cart. And if they sit inside, we can't pull it. I'm not one of the 1%. I'm not a super rich man. I intend to be. That's the beauty of America. I think if I work hard, I have some good ideas. I make my own reality in this world as long as I'm willing to put the work in. I anticipate being in a good spot, but I'm not there now. And I'm seeing people in a very similar spot to me. Maybe people that are doing less, who are sitting inside of the cart that I'm pulling, and I'm sweating, and my back hurts, and my shoulder hurts, and my knees are hurting, and I'm tired. And I'm looking at a lot of people going, hey, pal, get out of the damn cart and start pulling it. It's that John Kennedy thing. Ask not what your country can do for you. Well, what's Obamacare going to mean for me? What are they going to give me? Well, they owe me. Well, they're doing fine. What do I get? No. Ask, what can I do to help my country? And I think we've lost something since the 60s that was that let's improve America instead of let's penalize success in this country. Because what's the penalty here? You penalize people that can't afford to pay for health insurance. And I'm sure some of those 800,000 people that they're choosing not to enforce immigration policy will fall into that category, whether or not they eventually get a backdoor amnesty or not. But what is the penalty? If you can't afford health insurance, they fine you. Hang on, wait, they don't have the money to buy health insurance. So the penalty is we're going to fine you. And wait, the only money they do have is already coming from public tax dollars through social welfare programs. And so we're going to tax them our own tax dollars that they can't afford to pay because they couldn't afford to buy the health insurance in the first place. And then that's really just coming right back to the middle class and the upper class. We're getting hammered again. And it's just astonishing. I know I hit you with about 20 points there. Anything you want to comment on?
No, I mean, this is going to get worse and worse as, for all the people, all the well-meaning people out there, I think this is a good thing. You're going to find out the hard way. And believe me, like I said, I believe in the healthcare system. I believe in, making the world a better place. I don't like taking the sides of some of these Republicans or whatever, and I don't want to be associated with that. I have another angle on it, but it's still... this is not good. I'm picturing Nancy. It's like watching Nancy Pelosi, when she makes that big statement, we have to pass the bill so we can find out what's in it. It's like you're making a deal with the devil or something and the devil's pulling out this huge 2,700 page contract, and she's trying to tell us that we have to sign this over so we can find out what's in it. It's like, no, don't. It's going to get so much worse as time goes on, once they realize the actual how much this is going to cost and stuff like that. And I'm trying to talk about putting a drain on the system. If people were in good nutrition and had the mineral, we wouldn't have to go to the doctor so much because there wouldn't be so many sick people, which is another angle I'd like to work on this. And just getting that. And I'm sorry, Brian, I keep going in 9 different directions myself, but I think people are really going to be sorry, and then it's going to be a lot harder to get rid of this once it's already in effect.
Right.
So,
Blake, you're absolutely right about that, and the fact that you're going 9 directions, I'm going 9 directions, and some of those aren't even overlapping. It just screams stop.
Let's talk about this. Let's hold on.
Yeah. If you want to do this, we know that you technically can impose it, but you need to, if you intend to be the president of the United States and not a progressive bent on fundamentally transforming this country, and I believe that's what this president is. I don't think he has the best interests of this country in mind. I don't think he represents a majority of this country. I think he represents a very fringe philosophy. He was raised with a lot of mentors and a lot of professors and a lot of professions and a lot of close people in his life, be it family or advisors, that definitely pushed Marxism, communism, socialism, a lot of things that are against the prevailing opinions of this country. And I don't think it's accidental that we've been hearing one thing from this man and getting a different thing in policy. The fact that this isn't a tax, except that it's absolutely a tax. And the fact that the Supreme Court voted on it, I mean, what is it, sour grapes to disagree with the Supreme Court? I disagree, for the reason that I don't think you can be forced to purchase a product. I don't know what in the world Chief Justice was thinking. No idea. I disagree with that. But I really don't think this president has the best interests of this country in mind. I think it's about tearing us down, bringing us down a few pegs, knocking us Americans, us lazy, irresponsible, greedy, manipulative Americans, knocking us down a few pegs and redistributing wealth, be it through carbon taxes. Remember that whole carbon tax thing we were supposed to go through? There was no political will to do it. I just don't trust the motives of this president. And then when the alternative is somebody, Mitt Romney, who supports the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, which can cramp down on people, you can get black-bagged and thrown into the back of a van, detained indefinitely on a charge without proof, without a trial, just removing your rights to a trial. that's the alternative. That's the illusion of an alternative. I'm still holding out faith that sometime between now and the election, people can say, okay, that's the Democrat way, I get it. Okay, that's the Republican way, I get it. Now, what's the American way? What's the third option that isn't Romney or Obama that could also lead us to prosperity? I want another option here, because Mitt Romney has never gained my vote. He's not going to get my vote, even though I want Obamacare repealed. Where is the alternative option? But, I suppose that's going to have to save itself for another show. I want to get to one more story here, and then we're going to have to probably let you run, Blake. How much longer do we have you? We know that we've tweaked our schedule, our regularly scheduled broadcast time around today, and you have a few things going on. How much more time do we have?
I got about, I'd say, 7 to 17 minutes if we need to wrap anything up. I don't want to tie into your next show or anything. And I also want to say it for people that think there's no a difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, as Brian is saying. You don't have an alternative here with Romney and Obama. And what we mean is, like, there's Republicans and Democrats can argue over minor issues and such, but I mean, these guys are both in favor of creepy Orwellian bureaucratic health care. They're both in favor of NDAA, like you said, or the Patriot Act, or the Federal Reserve, or the I.R.S. We could go on and on. The drug war. I mean, when it comes to major issues, they are definitely one and the same. It is one party when you talk about major issues, or the wars, the battle wars that we got going on. I mean, Romney's just going to turn his attention on Russia, but what's the difference here? There is no difference between the two parties when you talk about major issues, not these little minor things to fight over.
That's an interesting point, and you raise a good point there. I mean, because you have followed a lot of what Ron Paul had to say, as have we here at the New American Media. Not that we're in the cult of Ron Paul or something. We don't trust any politician. He's just the only one saying, you need to limit my power. I need to give you more power back. No, this should be for the states to decide. No, this isn't government's responsibility. He's the only politician we've heard in a long time saying that they don't have the power to try to push and cram things through.
Yeah, what we need is just common sense and just to sit down and have a talk. I mean, why, what's wrong with having a debate about stuff? Why not? Why not? Let's talk about the healthcare thing. Let's, 6 months from now, let's really have some different opinions out here and get some people that aren't Republicans or Democrats, or people that work for obviously the pundits that obviously have an agenda on left wing or right wing or what have you. And have some new angles and new ideas, and let's take our time and make sure that we get the right thing that works for everybody. But it's always like one side's trying to jam this side down. It doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. Now we've got basically like a monopoly with these two parties, and it's not good. And we're way past time for a third party. I think a lot of people would love to see, a Ross Perot type or Ron Paul type, and I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, and a lot of people are saying it's not about a third party; it's about a second party. It's about saying Republicans and Democrats are big government, Orwellian, two sides of the same coin, an oligarchy where a select group of predetermined leaders keep us fighting over fringe issues while everybody's looted and stolen from and civil liberties disappear. If the Republicans and Democrats are the same, then how about a second party? Not even a third party. I'd like to call for a movement in this country to get a second party, because if Republicans and Democrats are so similar, I know that you're going to paint it totally opposite. Mitt Romney's the opposite of Obamacare. Are you freaking kidding me? That's the opposite. Thank you, Republicans, for offering such a stark contrast between a massive, overreaching healthcare program that you're just going to dive in without figuring out how it affects people. That's exactly. I mean, what is Romney care? But I'll tell you what. We're going to shift gears here for a minute. Just want to
get rid of both parties. Get rid of all parties, and people just let them stand on their own ideas, their integrity, and their voting record, and stop these partisan games where they all have to vote on one side, and they gotta, it's all these party voting, or who's gonna have a filibuster. It's out of hand. It needs to stop. Let's get rid of that stuff.
That would require an informed electorate, and I'm not sure how we get that. But I would love to pick up on that issue in one of the coming shows. By the way, if you're out there listening watching on YouTube after the fact, please click subscribe. And while you're at it, please go ahead and find Blake. You can find him. He is on freedomizerradio.com every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from noon till 1:30. That's freedomizerradio.com from noon to 1:30. It's called Eccentric Perspective. And we want you to follow Blake on Twitter at Eccentric, ECCENTRIC 99, at Eccentric99, and you can follow us at American_media_. We're going to take a brief station identification break here on the TNAM radio network, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this really interesting story. I love this, and I just want to get your thoughts, Blake. Which presidential candidate would you trust during an alien invasion? Oh, yeah, we're going there. We'll be right back here on the NewAmericanMedia.com's Agree to Disagree program.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on the NewAmericanMedia.com.